Okay, it is now 5 o'clock and I will call this meeting to order. So the first thing I would like to do is have a moment of silence for Steve's mom who passed away recently. Thank you. Public input.
Here to listen.
That's good.
Just here for the ride. It's new for me.
We love that. Oh, it's good. It's good.
Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of June 18th.
So moved.
Second.
Any errors, corrections, or omissions?
See it?
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Business report. I think the manifesto signed. And treasurer's report.
Treasurer's report. You should have a copy of it,
Mm-hmm.
and as you can see, everything balances out on both pages, which is always a good thing. And there's nothing really unusual here to speak of.
Good.
Thanks. Okay. Bottom numbers, 642, 287, 12, ending balance. As you can see, it matches on both sides. Any questions?
Is this is on the website, right? So people can see this? Is this on?
No,
Oh, it's not?
no.
Okay.
It's a report we get every month.
Yeah, I know, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
I don't, honestly, I don't know if it is or not, but,
No?
no,
Okay.
okay.
Cash balances will be part of the annual report, so it's like
Yeah,
any other asset.
Yeah, I just thought, you know, a lot of times.
Actually, it would be good maybe if it was, but at times people would see it.
Yeah.
but-
I was thinking like when people are here or at the meeting, it's nice to have something to look at, or even our staff.
Tom, is everything in for this?
Oh, no, certainly not.
Okay.
Oh,
Yeah.
Just checking.
No, and again, this is cash based on date received rather than date earned.
Yeah, that's a quick
Right, so it's not necessarily, in fact, some of this is actually July revenue.
Okay.
We have June revenue not yet received, so it's just purely cash basis.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Jared.
Sure.
The next is 2018-19 paid meal prices that we have to vote on.
You have the sheet on the drive?
Yeah.
Okay. For
Um,
for the last number of years, there's been a calculation required by USDA where we have to, our paid meal prices have to exceed the reimbursed meal prices. And there's a calculation based on what the performance has been, what the actual costs have been. We are able to cap the increase of 10 cents. It's all weighted average stuff. So this year, the average cost would have been $2.92 to the nearest penny. Because last year we were at $2.70, we're applying the 10-cent cap again. So for both Lakeway is $2.80, high school is $3.10. We're only required to do that for lunches. So breakfast, I did take a nickel on each, go from $1.40 to $1.45. And adult lunches have been $4, and I continue to leave that there.
So what I see on this report, Tom, is that adult breakfast prices are increased by 20 cents. Is that from 20 cents from last year? Is that
Yes.
what that means? Okay.
Yes, I'm sorry, I left the lunch the same, but I did increase the breakfast.
Okay. All right. Do you want to hear a motion to accept the paid meal prices for
So moved.
17-18?
Yep, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, under unfinished business, we have the Lakeway facility update. There has been a committee formed, and the first meeting of that committee is going to be July 30th at 5 p.m. in the Lakeway modules. Because they wax on the floors in the hallway.
And I want to thank you for calling and confirming the list up too, and we expect to not doing that.
You're welcome. School district van, do you want to report on that, Steve?
Yeah, it's been ordered. Greg Allaire updated me on it on Friday, and just that it's in the system being built. Most of these now have to be ordered before they arrive. They don't have a lot of them sitting around. So, well, and I did call him again today. Didn't hear back from him. Yeah, I think he's maybe out of town, but it should be here hopefully early part of the school year, in time to use for golf and some of our smaller trips, at least smaller in terms of numbers of students. So it's on the way.
And just to refresh my memory, the new van taking the place of, we had an old van before?
No, most.
What we used before?
Yeah, great question. Most of the time with the kinds of trips that we'll use the van for, we were contracting those out separately with Barry.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, at a cost of close to $20,000 a year.
And he doesn't have a small bus, does he?
No.
Not that I'm aware of, no.
So when we contracted out, like for golf or the
Right.
smaller groups,
Right.
we had to have the big bus paid.
Yeah, oftentimes, and you'll see, we're not alone, there's other schools
Yeah.
too, but most of our area schools have some type of activity transportation profile. The regional have been doing it for a while, so it'll give us a little more, hopefully give us also a little more opportunity to do a few other activities with students, maybe even in town, where a short trip and a small vehicle would suffice.
So when we contracted out with Barry's, we did it as a needed basis?
Yes,
So that
yeah,
won't change it?
per trip.
Oh, yeah, we'll just eliminate it.
Yeah, and Barry's was great. They were
Oh, yeah,
they
okay,
always
Okay,
accommodated
cost.
us, and so it's not, there's no dissatisfaction there
No,
whatsoever.
no, of course not.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's just that economics, it makes more sense to do it this way.
Do we know where we're gonna store it yet? Is there
Well-
other options for that?
You know, a lot of it will be managed, I think, through the activities, transportation, of course. In terms of storage, we can perhaps have some access to the building at times, although we have to remember that, thinking specifically of the shop area, but that's a classroom.
Yeah.
So we kind of have to be mindful of that too. We don't want to compromise.
But you could park it there outside there, right?
Yeah, I think
Outside.
that's the logical place to keep it, yeah. Because that's a good pickup, drop-off point and scheduling. Yeah.
Okay. New business, Above the Notch Community School.
So I've given the brochure, I just wanted to give you an update of where we are. Share the brochure with you. If you see anything that's questionable, please give it to me. We've done lots of revisions to it. It outlines the credits for the diploma, the fees. We anticipate using credit recovery at night, so students who didn't pass courses and are looking at credit recovery are able to go to night school at a fee. It is free to any, sorry.
What did you laugh? So
Yeah.
You said the word free.
Yeah, that's not allowed.
Maybe.
Free to any student who is a former or current Littleton High School student looking at an alternative program. 21 years and under, it's an adult program. 15-and-a-half-year-olds up could take it. We've done a LEARN program in the past with some mixed success. This will be with the direct instruction, project-based, competency-based teacher teacher present rather than a computerized online program. Includes an attendance policy and schedule, registration. I needed to share this with you so that you're aware that we will be sharing this with the other high schools who are in the same situation as we were with students that were not finding any success in a traditional approach to learning. So Rochelle will be sharing this with other schools as well, and that will help compensate some of the expenses by the tuition that they would pay. So that's the above the notch. We've got students who've already been enrolled. We have, she's finalizing and scheduling teacher training, so you'll start, we'll get the criminal records checks going and so forth in the next few weeks.
Michelle was impressive. We're very
Yes.
lucky to have her.
She's doing a tremendous amount of work this summer, looking at grants, applying for the grants. Any questions about that before I shift to the JAG? Yes, I should read more. New Hampshire grads, JAG, New Hampshire JAG. This is Jobs for American Graduates. We had this program many years ago, and they've selected Littleton High School as one of the new sites for JAG's program as well. Our governor is on the national board for JAG, and I think that Littleton is in an ideal location. We're doing a lot of fresh things in our high school, in our communities, so I'm really excited that they kind of selected us to be a JAG school once again. It is a private nonprofit group that focuses on workforce training. Its funding comes from TANF, which is Temporary Assistance for Needy Families. And this year, one of the reasons they could add more schools is that AT&T matched their funds. So New Hampshire is extending from 7 programs to 11 programs. We'll be joining Laconia High School, Manchester Technical, and Newport High School as new sites for the JAG program. JAG will be providing us with a JAG specialist, which includes all salaries and benefits. They'll be supplying the JAG specialists the supplies, covering their field trip expenses. What we'll do is establish an MOU with JAG, and our in-kind contribution would be like a computer to use, dedicated classroom space, access to a phone line, and time built into the schedule of our students. Our students, the students who are eligible, will meet regularly with a JAG specialist. They will deliver a competency-based employability skills curriculum, and it would be an elective credit, and continue the relationship with a JAG specialist through high school. I anticipate a lot of that work taking place during task time, weekly or bi-weekly. They're hoping for about 40 kids, perhaps, that might be eligible, that are interested in joining throughout the year. And with JAG, their support for our students would extend past high school. So they would continue to provide support as they go into workforce or college or whatever they choose, and they'll help them get to where they are, where they're looking at going in the future. So I just wanted you to know that. And when I met with Janet Arnett and Rochelle last week, they're still negotiating eligibility requirements. It's 13-year-olds and older, and as it's a temporary assistance for needy families, there'll be an economic piece as well. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah. Any other questions from the board? Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So the next item on the agenda is committee reports. Personnel, I don't believe there's any.
We have that.
Okay. Facilities, we don't have any.
August 10th.
What?
August 10th will be there.
Me
August
coming.
10th?
Yeah, the invite went out today.
No, that's the second Friday, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
too many of us are missing on the first Friday.
All right, so with policy, as usual, we've tried to keep busy and busy. The first policy we have is ECA, it's building and ground security. Now, we've had this policy since 2006, but we just revised it a couple weeks ago, 2018. And basically, it talks about that all school buildings follow practices that ensure and maintain the security and safety of all buildings and grounds. Access to school buildings and grounds outside of regular school hours shall be limited to personnel whose work requires it. And then there'll be an adequate key control system established which will limit access to buildings to authorized personnel and safeguard against the potential of entrance to buildings by keys in the hands of unauthorized persons. And also talks about school buildings shall be closed and locked after the school activity is concluded in the afternoon or evening, whatever. And all school facilities will establish and maintain close cooperation with local law enforcement, fire departments, and other authorized agencies to maintain the safety and security of all of our buildings. So, I guess I'll go on to the next one.
Yeah, they go, the first couple go together.
Yeah, well, the next one is really the key card and key agreement, I think. We will read it.
ECAB, which is access to buildings.
Right. So, yeah, go ahead.
ECA, yeah.
ECA.
B, which is the access to buildings, which backs up ECA, basically saying that that we recognize that all the school buildings follow certain security practices to keep all of the students, staff, and the general public safe anytime they're in the building. Outside of the school hours, it reiterates that we work closely with law enforcement, we work with community organizations who are authorized to be there, and then it references the key card policy again, stating that the keys are secure, not to be loaned to anyone, not to be given to your kids, to allow them to practice. You know, it's we're really trying to make sure that this is a clean policy and that it's implemented cleanly.
On that note, and because I've asked this many times over the meetings after meetings, I don't know, I've asked that law be for people who have keys now, people who have keys have to sign a book saying they have a key. And if keys are given out, they have to sign, but I think that's really
We have that, we do have that, but we, before starting that system, keys were issued, and there was no record keeping. So we're reacting still to that, but Dale and I are looking at regarding plans especially.
I just know there are a lot of people who have keys that maybe don't need a key, or
And
shouldn't have a key.
Yep.
There currently is nobody with an electronic key that is not a current staff member. So if they do have one, it's been deactivated, so it won't allow them to access the building.
Right.
It's the hard keys at the academy that are the problem.
Okay.
And we have discussed, Jen and I, at removing the only keyhole that's left over there with a hollow core, so the only access to get into that building would be an electronic key. Because we don't know how many hard keys have been passed out in the past.
Yeah,
If we get that right.
it's just like if anything happens and whatnot, you don't know who actually has a key and who doesn't. So we need to, I'm glad you're tightening up on that, because that's something that needs to be done.
Well, plus the key card, at least the form that I have here, says whoever gets a key has to acknowledge that they have the key, which is numbered, or however you want to word it. You may want to take a look at this. And they understand and agree to abide by the above agreement, and they have to date and sign it. Then when they're deactivated, that has to be noted on the bottom of that form.
Yeah.
So,
And we signed verifying that we received it back, so.
right.
Yeah, I didn't know you could deactivate it.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah.
And I think you can even limit access to certain spaces, so.
Hey, we can do it by hour, like we could say that a person can only go into our building between 5 and 6 p.m. if we really wanted to,
Okay.
generally.
Great, okay.
So all staff members at the high school, between Jen, Louie, and I, They all have a form filled out at the high school, middle school, and academy, so those are 100% up to date for the high school.
And I know coaches, extracurricular,
Yep.
some have to have them.
Great, thank you. And then the last policy we did was IJ on instructional resources and instructional resources plan. And I had that someplace, but basically, this policy has been updated this past year. They changed the title to closely conform with the current provisions of Educational 306.08. School board will implement, that's another job for us, will maintain and implement a written plan regarding instructional resources. And it should include a periodic review. So this is the latest and the greatest. So with that being said, I would entertain a motion to accept the following 3 policies with the key card agreement.
First reads, at least first reads,
First read and adoption.
First read
And adoption.
Well, there we go.
Make a motion to accept ECA, ECAB, and the key card policy for first read and adoption.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
And make a motion to accept policy IJ, instructional resources, for a revised first reading and adoption.
Okay, so moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. Let's see, I think Steve, you're on, but I have something. On this drive, I have kindergarten A or something. Go ahead.
Yep, do I, okay. I can speak, do you want me to mention that
Yeah.
also? Yeah. The information that Ann was referring to, we did get notification the other day of the allotment of aid for kindergarten, kindergarten, kindergarten. Actually, said that. Yeah, they did say that. So the initial allocation for us is a little over $40,000. That's based on this year's kindergarten class, next year's kindergarten, this year's being this, excuse me. It's based on the kindergarten class of school year 17-18. The funding is for school year 18-19. It'll be a little bit less than what they indicated because our kindergarten class won't be quite as large this year as it was in the school year 17-18. But it'll be in excess of 35, I would say, 30 to 35,000, which will come in as revenue and will have the effect of lowering the tax rate at least a little bit because of that. So that's a good thing. Revenue's good.
Yeah.
And then as far as my other remarks, superintendent's report, again, thank you. I want to thank the board for their words of support, and not just words, but support other ways, emotional support, and my staff, administrative staff, that parents, thank you, Tanya. I've had a lot of different people that reached out to me in the loss of my mother, and she was a school teacher in her heart, and it was kind of a common thread here, as was her brother, as is one of my daughters. And so obviously teaching and education is a big part of our family, close to our heart. So thank you for that, and I appreciate the thoughts and support of everybody. Lakeway Facilities Advisory Committee, and Ann spoke to that just a little bit, so just again reiterate, we have had a great response from the community, and have some, I think, a good balance of people that will come together next week and start that process of looking at the options and with the goal of making a recommendation to the board in the very near future, so we can move forward and have a plan to take to the town in the very near future. A few things, I am going to be attending a chamber board meeting this week. had an opportunity to meet with the new director, not too long ago. And so we talked then about, Nathan and I talked then about me coming, and so to one of their board meetings, so I'll be going to that this week. Budget preparation, you know, one thing about the New Hampshire school budgets, it's kind of, as you're always juggling about at least three, and that's the case now. We're still putting the final accountings of the 17-18 budget, and we're already spending money out of the 18-19 budget, and in the very near future, actually, we've already begun the process of putting together the 19-20 budget. So 3 years simultaneously, and of course even beyond 19-20, there are things that we have to also plan for, obviously, going forward. But certainly that's something that we're putting a lot of effort into, making every effort to continue to make the process more transparent and involve community as much as we can, budget committee, and work forward as we prepare the 19-20 budget. I'm really glad that we heard a little bit from Jennifer again tonight about the Above the Notch school, along with the related program, the JAG program. You know, one thing it says on that brochure, personalized learning, learning your way. Personalized learning is again, it's not something new. You know, I'm always worried about initiative fatigue and, oh my gosh, now we're doing this and now. But again, I go back to the three areas that we're really focusing on: the universal design for learning, competency-based education, and socio-emotional learning, and all of those. Personalized learning, again, is a tool to help implement some of those programs that we're doing. But I do think that the Above the Notch school and some other things that are going on with that will be a huge step for us in terms of personalized learning in a very different way than we've done before. And again, I don't want to overreach here, because we have many teachers and staff and paras and administrators that work all the time to look at individual students' needs and to make the learning possible for them. But you know, this program has an opportunity to put the structure, institutional structure, into some of the things we're doing to really personalize learning. And I really think that that's clearly something that's tremendously at the forefront of everything you read about what we should be doing, and has been for a while. So I'm very excited to see about that moving forward. And again, our goal is to maximize the learning of every student. Students, regardless of whether they're going to a four-year college, professional career, a technical college, maybe they're going to exit high school and live locally, or maybe not even locally, but work and then do some kind of training, whatever. We continue to need to make sure that we give those students the best preparation, the best opportunities. And I always said before, our job is to provide options. Give students as many options, as much flexibility as possible. So I'm excited about that moving forward. I think we have a lot of the right pieces in place. And I really think that we can offer, again, a very personalized learning, a school choice, maybe in a little different light than what we normally think of school choice, but it will be a player certainly in that process as well. And that concludes my report.
I just had one other thing that was put on the agenda late, the Littleton School District Special Education Procedures Plan, which is about 118 pages long, and I haven't read it.
Yeah, I think that can wait till the 6th.
Okay.
Yeah, it's massive.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll need to wait.
Okay. So with that being said, we need to have a non-public session. Can we do this now?
Do the non-public, yeah. When I you want to say what you're interested in and what you're hoping to learn?
Yes, I
I
was
mean, you,
interested in, I understand that a new boys varsity soccer coach was going to be recommended tonight. I was hoping to find out.
nominated, nominations?
Nominated, yes, who they were. Is that done in the non-public?
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Come back and then you can tell us?
Mhm.
Okay, so we sit outside the door.
Yeah, actually.
Do you have a
You could-
class or not?
How about I go to the side?
I don't know. I don't know.
All right,
So,
yes,
all right.
got it in front of you, Kim?
Yeah, I make a motion to enter into non-public session under paragraph 2, section 3 of the RSA 91A:3 of the right to know law for
We must restate.
1, the dismissal, promotion, or the compensation of any public employee, or the disciplining of such employee, or the investigation of any charges against him or her. 2, the hiring of any person as a public employee. 3, matters which, if discussed in public, would likely affect adversely the reputation of any person other than a member of this board. And
That's it, I think.
7,
7,
consideration by a school board of entering into a student or pupil tuition contract,
Yeah.
okay.
authorized by RSA 194 or RSA 195-A.
Do you hear a second?
Second.
Roll call vote,
Nelson, Millie Nelson.
Kim Woodson.
and read it. Okay, we're in.
We need to take Patty, Tom, and Jennifer, please.
Oh,
Oh, yeah. You mean the ones that are here?
I'm sorry, I just made that assumption that everybody was here was coming